Okay, so I'm working my way up to a nice point right here that sticks off the bank and drops into the main river channel. And we can actually see there's a little bit of fish activity. Looks like these might just be some roaming striper white bass, but there's also a little bit of bait in the area in that like 12-foot zone, which is interesting. And so I want to work my way up on top of this point. I have a few rocks just marked. When the lake is drawn down, I can see these rocks on Google Earth. And I just have a feeling this point could be really, really good. It's so tight to that channel. And I feel like these fish might be setting up, again, kind of the same depth as those bait fish. So it's like 10 to 15-foot zone. And I want to see if we can find any of these early post spawners, kind of early summer fish that are pulling offshore here. There's a little bit of rock there. Nothing crazy to write home about quite yet, but I'll make a couple passes. I want to really look through that rock right there to see if there's anything going on. I want to also just check on my down scan as well as my 2D to see if we can see any fish. Let's keep working through this point. A lot of times you have to graph these points a couple times because you don't hit the angle quite right, and you can see that bait is up there in like that 10-foot zone. So man, it just looks like there should be some fish up on this point somewhere. We just have to find the right little spot on that point where they might be setting up. There's some rock there. I really like that rock again, and it's right kind of in the depth zone we're looking for. This is our prop wash from earlier. Let's see if there's some fish that have pushed up even a little bit shallower up on this point with that bait being a little bit shallower. Ooh, there's a fish right there. Are there more there? There's a nice fish right there. Right in that area, there's more bait and there's a fish right there. Let's mark that with a fish icon really quick. Looks like there might be some potential on this spot. There's another fish over here. Just popped up, it looks like. Yeah, there's like one more fish right here. I'm gonna mark this with a fish icon. There's some fish on this point. They're kind of scattered, it looks like, and they're shallower than where that rock is. I want to kind of take a couple passes through here because I really want to narrow down that zone so we can have our waypoints dialed in on where we need to be going. Again, prop wash right there, but we're gonna go over some rocks. And I want to go through those fish icons right there just to see, because it's so perfect with the lake being so high right now. It's like 7 feet high. It's actually getting drawn down, so there's current pushing across these really flat points. Because it's so close to the channel, the potential of it having some fish on it is pretty high. As these fish pull out of these bushes, they're gonna want to group up on some of these deeper points. This isn't really a deep point, and that shad is pretty shallow, 10 foot of water or less. So you can see our mapping, it looks like we're in like 5 foot because, you know, again, the lake is up, but looks like we can see there's even a few more fish right here just popping on our down scan. Yeah, right in there, there's a few more fish. I'm gonna mark this with fish. Get back over here really quick. There's also a few fish potentially even scattered through here on our side scan view. I'm gonna mark this with fish. There's a bunch of activity on this point. They're kind of just scattered and spread out. They're not clumped up super great, but that's not a big problem, and we can see a few fish here and there all through this area, right in here. Pull up my full side scan view. And a lot of times the spots you find, like there's a couple fish there might be a couple fish here, a couple fish right up here. A lot of times in this early summertime, these fish aren't going to be as grouped up as they are later in the year, but I think there might be enough of them here that if we can get up there, we might be able to pick a few off. So let's give it a shot. Oh, golly. One just thumped it right there. Let's see if he comes back and gets it. That was a good fish too, it felt like. Come on, just eat it. There he is. Up on this point where we thought they were gonna be. Not a big one, but I missed one literally the cast before this too. Just pulling up with our mapping. We mark these fish on the graph. Solid spotted bass on that 6XD. Man, they're eating the crankbait today with this wind and the current and everything. Nice little fish right here. Get back down there. Just lining up on these spots, guys. These points that have both the current and also the wind going on them are perfect spots for these fish to set up this time of year. And it's pretty shallow up here. It's only probably, another one, 7 foot up here, 10 foot. And there's actually some good fish on this point. Another decent one. A lot better than the fish we were catching earlier. Found another school earlier that just had a bunch of dinks on it. These are all keeper spotted bass, solid fish. On that crankbait, I had another one hit the cast before this. This is 3 casts in a row now. And that 6XD, it's just hard to beat this time of year. And again, not using forward facing, just lining up with my mapping. Nice fish, getting back down there. When they bite like this too, you gotta get back in there as quick as you can. And the last spot we fished was very similar, but it was a little bit tighter to the ledge. This point is a little bit flatter and a little bit shallower too, which is not a problem in this crankbait, even though it only dives, or even though it's only 8 foot out there, and this crankbait dives 15 to 18 feet, I still like throwing a crankbait that really digs the bottom, because I feel like it gets these fish to react a lot better. And if you can just burn that crankbait back and grind it in the bottom, a lot of times you can get some good bites. I need to hit my cast right. This wind is making it a little bit tricky on me. There's one cast I have lined up out there they seem to be on. It's another one. Every time I hit that cast, I catch a fish. It's literally right on my waypoint. And there's a bunch of fish out here. They're not big ones, but they're just quality fish. I mean, it's a really nice largemouth out here for beaver, and it's awesome when you can catch them every single cast like this. Just got to hit that right cast. I'm lined up on the very edge of this bush up here that's in the water. If I can hit that cast right, I'm getting bit every single time, and hoping it keeps up because these fish are getting it. It's also pretty shallow, so my bait's kind of digging in the bottom, so if I get too far off to the right or the left of the cast, it's almost too shallow for some reason for this crankbait. So got to find that perfect cast in there. Once you do, it seems like they're gonna crack it. I might need to change up baits here in a second after a few more casts, because I just made a couple casts without getting bit right through the juice. And a lot of times, if you can switch baits quick enough, you can continue to get bites. So if I make more than 5 casts with this crankbait in a row and don't get a bite, then I'm switching up to something different just to see if I can trigger another bite. I'm actually gonna pick up different bait right now because that was 3 casts in a row, and I don't want these fish to cool down too much. I'm actually gonna pick up a Magnum square bill on them, because a lot of times if there's a bigger fish in there, they'll eat that Magnum square bill. It's just a big striking 8.0, big old crankbait, and it should be a perfect depth for this too. So we'll try this, and then if not, then we have a few other tricks up our sleeve. This 8.0, if they eat it, it's gonna be a good one, but a lot of times it's a little bit too much bait for these little spotted bass.
Really quick guys, I want to let you know about my brand new traditional offshore fishing playbook. This playbook utilizes techniques that I developed over the past 20 years to target bass offshore without the use of forward-facing sonar. In this playbook, I provide detailed breakdowns of all the strategies I use to target offshore bass, with detailed flow charts, diagrams, and a lot of helpful tips to adapt based on the lake type, the conditions you're facing, and a lot of other factors so you can consistently find and catch bass offshore without forward-facing sonar. Definitely check out my traditional offshore playbook at fishthemoment.com.
Got him. There we go. On the worm. Oh, he came off. Not a big one. Oh man, he had that worm. Messed up my worm. Oh man, he came off just a little guy. There we go. Threw a few other baits in there and didn't get a bite, and then picked up this 10-inch worm, drug it down there, and first cast, that dude grabbed it. Not a big one, unfortunately, but got another way to get these fish to bite. A lot of times that crankbait plus big worm is a really good 1-2 punch in the summer, and this school is just setting up right on my waypoint basically that we made. We have another waypoint that we marked some fish on as well, so there may be more fish down this point. I'm just kind of trying to stay spot locked on this spot because I'm getting bit, and making the same presentation over and over. But we're gonna change casting angles here in a second, move around this point, try to fan cast with a bunch of different baits, because there's a lot of fish in this area, I can tell just from what we graphed up, how many we just caught. And I think that we should be able to catch a bunch of good fish here. We just have to figure out maybe the right cast to get more bites other than just this one cast right here. Okay, so I didn't really get that many more bites on the worm. I did break off one fish off the spot on a spinning rod, but I wanted to put the active target in the water just to see what we might be missing up here or what's kind of going on, because I'm not getting any more bites. I want to see if the fish have just kind of scattered or what's happening. And that's kind of one of the nice things about using active target in combination with just traditional methods, is you can catch them traditionally and then you can drop the active target to kind of figure out what's going on. Is there a better way to maybe get these fish to bite? What's happening down there, I guess. So as we can see, this is this point and it doesn't look fantastic on the active target. There are some random fish kind of swimming around. I don't see a ton of fish on the bottom or anything. There are a few fish up here. That's kind of where the cast was, where I was getting all these bites, up there about 60 feet out. And I guess that's kind of what those fish were on. And I'm just trying to throw a little spunk shad up there, see if maybe we can get one of these fish to react. But more than anything, I just kind of want to see what's happening up there. And it's kind of crazy because it doesn't look very good necessarily. That's why I like graphing a lot of times with my traditional electronics, because just looking at this point, it's really hard to tell why this point has a bunch of fish on it, or you know, if even these fish up here are bass that we're looking at that are at like 50 foot. It's just kind of hard to tell, and I'm not seeing them really react to my bait either. So I don't even think these are the fish that we were catching. Maybe we really just busted up that school pretty good, or they're sitting so tight to the bottom that you can't really even see them. Either way, it's really, really interesting because we're right on that dot. I guess those are those fish. I guess they're just pretty messed up from us working through them earlier, because they are not interested in my bait. They're not even looking at it. There are a few fish further back here too. Let's just kind of fish around here. I just want to see if I can get any of these fish to even react to a bait, because they were eating super well on that crankbait. I've been throwing it for a bit and they just aren't biting. There are some fish that are chasing some shad further out at like 60 foot. Let's see if maybe I can throw a worm at them. This is what I broke the fish off on. It's this little worm. Maybe working something really finesse on these fish might get one to bite. I'm not really sure. Okay, here we go. Here are all these fish. They are moving further up to these bushes now, almost in this bush line, which is kind of crazy. They're pushing up even shallower than they were earlier, and they're all up here now. So it just shows that these fish kind of can roam around and move. And when I graphed them, they weren't all the way up here. And now this is exactly where they're at. And you can see there's a handful of fish here. One's just following my bait right now, about 45, 50 feet out. There's a bunch of them up here. My goodness, they're just roaming. And maybe now that we've kind of got back up here, we're actually closer to our waypoint, maybe I can pick that crankbait back up now. Just goes to show too, you got to kind of move around these points. If they stop biting, it might not be that they just stop biting. They may have just literally relocated and you got to move a little bit further up the point. So kind of interesting. Let's pick that crankbait back up and see. Maybe now you can see there's some fish on this back slope here. Maybe just repositioning the boat further up on top of this spot, which seems counterintuitive, might be the way to generate another bite or two. Not that they're really that aggressive. Oh my gosh, look at all these fish. They're on this bait over here now. Crazy. Wow, this is crazy, guys. I cannot get these fish to bite anything. Just goes to show that just because you put the active target in the water, it doesn't mean you're just going to start smashing them right away. And sometimes using traditional methods can get the job done pretty well, especially right now. It seems like I can't get a bite doing anything out here, just straight up targeting these fish. Some good ones out there too. They're just not really aggressive on my bait. Not getting a bite or anything. Picking them all up there. These might not all be bass. I just don't know what all these are. But I mean, we got a bunch of bites here, so Kind of makes me think that there have to be some bass up here too. That other waypoint is right around here where we marked a few more bass. They must just be kind of cruising and roaming. That blows my mind though, guys. Absolutely fascinating. You would think with as many fish as are up here, you'd just be able to go throw at them, get them to bite with active target. But nope. Okay, well apparently the active target 2 is not what we need to be doing right now. I just put that up. Never caught another fish off the spot. I did break off a fish, which always kind of messes up these schools, but I thought with the active target we'd be able to pick off a few fish. But I mean, we were doing better just pulling up without it and just firing. So that's kind of interesting, and it just goes to show that traditional methods can work out pretty well. Let's try to find another spot like this though and see if we can put some more fish in the boat.